At Gama border a monk tries to pass while an officer looks at his papers. The monk Memphis is a wanted poster for Bisco. The officer tells him that Bisco had turned Mount Akagi into a mushroom mountain. The monk then wonders why they call him man-eater, and the officer explains it's because he eats people. Hearing that he is headed to Imohama, Uda explains the monk is on funeral journey and that mostly monks pass through Guma nowadays. The officer corrects Uda that any criminal escaping Guma and heading to Imohama also needs to pass the gate, and they are Gama's last line of defense. The officer realizes he isn't a monk and pulls out his gun and shoots at the monk, scratching his bandages and revealing it's Bisco, who then shoots an arrow at the gate and causes a mushroom explosion. Bisco tells Jabi that they failed and to wake up Aktagar, a giant crab. As they need to run, they ride Aktagal while being chased by armed hippos. They manage to deal with the first ones, but more come. Then Bisco tells Jabi that they will be soaring on king trumpets. Bisco shoots out an arrow to bloom a king trumpet as Jamie counts down and the mushroom starts to bloom. They jump on the mushroom and thrown into the sky and jump over the border walls. Bisco and Jabi stop outside of Imohama borders for the night. They sit to eat, but Bisco wants to look at Jabi's rust disease first and give him his medicine. Bisco then tells Jabi they need the rust eater and they need to pick up the pace while checking on Aktagala. Bisco notices a missile heading their way and shoots it down. Jabi then sees an escargot fighter is coming and prepares to spew, warning Bisco to hide under Aktagama. An animal comes out of the ground and bites Bisco, holding him as the escrobat prepares to fire at them. Jabi protects Bisco with his body. Angry Bisco shoots an arrow at the escargot, breaking his armor and taking it down. Bisco then quickly heads into Imohama to look for a doctor and save Jabi. Meanwhile, at Emihama's host club, an old hostess tells her story on how her parents died from rusting and how she then left her village. She then realized the rumors are true and mushroom keepers are spreading the rust. Milo examines a patient with resting disease but is glad that the rusting had stopped spreading. Milo stops at a manju and buys all the mushrooms. Pomu hears on the news that several prefectures face repeated cases of mushroom terrorism believed to be carried by the same criminal. Milo then returns home. He then heads into the next room where he uses the mushroom on the drug synthesizer, commenting that he is ready to use any ingredient as long it gives results and he can cure rust disease. Milo then informs Paulo that he is going out for a bit to deliver medicine to the Manju's vendor daughter. Governor Kurukawa shows up and asks Milo how is the new synthesizer and that he won't be wasting his time as he is treating Paul Wu, the captain of the Inohama Watch. However, he wonders if that isn't just a waste of time itself, as she can't be healed. In that moment Bisco shoots an arrow landing nearby Kurakawa and Milo and sprouting mushrooms. Bisco engages in a fight with the Imohama's watch and causes mushroom to sprout one after another as is reported on the news. Po dresses up and prepares to leave. Mila returns telling her that he saw Bisco. Mila refuses to let her go and having no choice Paul Wu knocks him out. Soon after Paul leaves, Mila wakes up. Bisco then appears behind him and asks him if he can produce medicine. He gives him a Lurkish room stating it's the best one for healing. Milo then insists on operate the old man, otherwise he will die. Having no choice, Bisco agrees. Bisco then notices some men with masks outside the clinic for shooting him. Bisco points out he has a hostage but the men still open fire. Bisco blows up the hospital and escapes with Milo and Jabi. Paul reaches the Imohama Watch station where the vice captain informs her that Bisco bloomed large number of mushrooms and then fooled Paulo. Judges from the mushroom trail that he is heading towards the governor's office at Emihama. Tyrol informs Kuriko that she failed to finish off Bisco but managed to land a direct hit on the old man. Kuriko then orders them to kill him before Paulu manages to arrest him. Kurokawa tells Tyrell that he will pay for her escargot plane, but she also needs to search and kill Bisco and also sends 20 men with her. Milo takes a look at Jabi and is surprised that he is still alive even after taking 6 shots from the escargot. Mila then prepares to operate and remove the bullets. The vice captain informs Paulu that the governor's office was a distraction and Bisco is currently fighting Kuriko was elite forces on his own near the west gate. Bisco defeats Kuriko as elite forces but wonders where is the watch. Tyrol is the last one defeated by Bisco and she tells him that Kuriko will force her to fight him and that she is quitting. In that moment Paul arrives on her bike and Tyrell uses the moment to escape. Paul then engages Bisco in a fight. Milo transfuses some blood to Jabi but is afraid that even if he heals now the rusting will soon kill him. Jabi then introduces himself stating that he is Bisco's mentor. Bisco and Po fight and their skills impress each other. Bisco is surprised she can still move that well given how bad her rusting is. Po gets annoyed blaming him for spreading the rust but Bisco states that the mushrooms don't spread the rust but grow by consuming it. Gambi tells the same thing to Milo. He explains that mushroom keepers grow mushrooms and places dense with rust but purifying doesn't start right away. Because of that casual people see mushrooms growing where rust is dense and started to believe the mushroom keepers spread rust. Paula still refuses to believe Bisco and they continue their fight. She blames him for growing mushrooms in cities as vengeance for prosecuting mushroom keepers. Bisco denies it stating he's looking for Russ. Eater. Jabi explains that there is a legendary mushroom born from the prayers of a dying hero and is able to completely absorb even the deepest rust be it from man or machine. Bisco used the time they talked to grow some mushroom on her pole making her lose her weapon and then knocks her out with an arrow. He takes her to Milo and Jabi but is surprised to see that JB is fine and moving already. Mi-11 sees Paolo and explains it's his older sister. Bisco explains he used some knockout poison mushrooms and Milo can give her some of the medicine he gave Jabi to make her feel better. Jabi tells them they need to move or they won't be able to escape and tells Bisco that he will distract the enemy. Bisco disagrees and also explains that even if he finds the Russ Eater he'll need someone to synthesize the medicine. Jabi then points to Milo. Understanding what is going on, Milo asked Bisco to take him with him while Java goes to distract the Imihama watch. Bisco and Milo head towards the North Gate and Bisco uses a mushroom to launch them and jump over the gate. Bisco and Milo continue their journey on foot. Bisco then notices a crowd claw and act to go what comes out of the ground. They get on it but Actagol throws Milo away. Bisco states he forgot that Actagawa hates doctors and gives him a new pair of clothes to wear. After changing clothes Milo introduces himself to Actagala and tries to get on but it throws him off again. They continue traveling with Milo following on foot the crab. They reached the Nico War Memorial and decide to sleep there for the night. As they enter the building they see Tyrell is there. Bisco recalls seeing her in Imohama but as Tyrell turns she seems like she's choking. Mila realizes there is something in her stomach. He then kisses Tyrell and manages to pull out a balloon worm. The next day Mila realizes that Tyrell was gone and had taken all of his money hidden. Sees that Tyrell had left them food for the money she took. They continue their journey and while crossing a dried up sea they see a watermelon. Bisco runs to get it but a kid takes it before him. He manages to get him but then another kid shoot at them looking for Bisco and Milo. Paolo reaches Shimotsuka Nuts believes that Bisco and Milo are kidnappers sent by Kuriko. Bisco explains they are headed towards Akita and that he is also willing to buy food from them. Nuts doesn't believe having no choice. Bisco reveals a wanted poster of himself and states that if they bring him alive to Imahama they will get a reward. The children then restrain Bisco and Milo and take them to their town where Metz promises they will receive food and water until they hand them over the authorities. Metz leaves Plum to look after Milo. Mila notices that there are no adults in town and that everyone is armed and Plum explains that each winter they are attacked by flying blowfish and several people are eaten each year. Milo notices something on Plum's arm who states everyone has it and it's rusting. According to Imohama Army Milo wonders what Korokol is doing but tells Plum that this isn't rusting disease. The children call Nuts telling him that Milo had healed them all. Suddenly the blowfish attacks in midsummer. The kids start fighting the fish but are unable to do anything as one of them catches Kizoke. Bisco jumps on it and splits it in two using the harpoon. He then gives the harpoon to Nuts telling him that this is how he should use it. Bisco then jumps down and calls Actagawa and Milo. Korokola finds traces of Jabi and realizes he is alive. Bisco Emilo reached Shimabuki land encased in snow as they are freezing. Visco Memphis is a pile of snow with something coming out of it and as he pulls it they find Tyrell who was nearly frozen to death. They make a camp for Tyrell to recover. Milo then notices a trader's camp and they head towards it. They manage to make a good trade for a dry giant eel and get some warm clothes along with a book. They reach the kids to Mazaka Station. but the entrance is frozen. Bisco asks Octagon, who easily breaks the ice. As they explore the subway they find a train that seems to be able to run. Tyrell asks for some time to make the train run. Milo and Tyrell check the field guide book they got from the traders, and as they see drawn a variety of animals they wonder what kind of book it is. Bisco states is drawn by a mushroom keeper, as the drawing style is unique to the mushroom keepers. Milo sees a page mentioning Russ Ear. He then reads that the pipe snake, with common name two worm, can fly and often eats large prey like helicopters and fighters. With the train ready to run, Tyrell decides to go different way. Milo wonders how they can capture a pipe snake, but then a large group of oil squids attack them. Bisco and Milo fight them. Bisco then shoots an arrow ahead of the train which causes the oil squids to drop from the train. As they leave the tunnel they find themselves in the Weeping Child's ravine down the cliff. Milo notices mushrooms and blue smoke. Bisco explains its spores and that mushroom keepers harvested the rust eater here 15 years ago. A large bird then comes and grabs the oil squid, but then a giant pipe snake comes out and eats the bird. Bisco gets on the other side of the cliff and shoots an arrow at the snake, but the arrow bounces off. Paul Wu then appears and heads towards Bisco. The pike snake then appears and attacks, capturing Polu. Milo uses Actabella to get on the snake and freeze her, telling Bisco to capture her. As she falls, the snake then shoots out its tongue and captures Actagal. Meal then cuts one of Actago with pincers in order to free him from the snake, but as they fall the snake is about to eat him. Pabu and Bisco unite forces and Bisco attacks the snake and saves Milo. The other end of the snake, which is also a head, then eats Bisco and Milo, but they shoot out mushrooms inside of it, causing them to grow and burst out of the snake, killing it. Bisco then notices Russ Eater mushrooms on the body of the snake but feels something isn't right. He takes one and eats it, realizing his power to eat rust and its taste is no different than a Matsutic. Bisco states it seems they got the wrong one and wishes to continue looking for another snake, but Milo attempts to stop him as he is quite beat up and bleeding. Bisco refuses to stop and pushes back Milo, who as he falls on the ground touches with his bloody hand the mushroom that Bisco ate and it started to glow and realizes something. Mila wishes to transfuse some blood to Bisco before revealing what he figured. Powell guesses that the Russ Eater on the pipe snake awakens after contact with mushroom keeper's blood. Mila believes so too, and once he transfuses some blood to Bisco he wants to look at his blood. Paolo then notices ropes on the snake and Kuriko appears, stating he didn't expect Po to see the legendary Russ Eater while chasing Bisco. Bisco then shoots an arrow at Kuriko's aircraft and the mushrooms barely grow but die. Cortical comments that even after all the antibacterial treatment they almost bloom, so they won't be able to take many shots. They start shooting at Bisco, who manages to dodge the bullets and take out one of the shooters, but Kuriko then shoots him with a rust bullet and flies off, taking the snake. Pole decides to head back to Imohama but doesn't want to take the cure now, stating she will take it if it works on Jabby. Paul Lutheran approaches Bisco and offers him her medicine, stating that his wound will soon rust even more. He needs to protect Milo. Pablo reaches the Imahama watch at Shimabuki base. Kurokawa appears and states he didn't expect her to be that fast in her condition and reveals he has Jabby. Later a broadcast from Kurokola starts and he plays a video for the criminals Bisco and Milo. Bisco returns to the shed but feels that Milo isn't himself. He figures the broadcast must be related to Paul Wu and Shimabuki base and heads out. Mila then comes out and tells him not to go. Mila doesn't want to lose his friend and is prepared to do anything to stop him. He then shoots an arrow. Bisco dodges it and punches Milo, who then headbutts Bisco. Milo then takes out a knife and Bisco knocks him, feeling he hit him too hard. Bisco checks on Milo but Milo injects in with sleep shroom poison while Koromuko Wo plays a card game with some of his men. Milo shows up, causing Kuriko to state he was sick of waiting. Kuriko then states he will kill Paul after 1 week unless he gives him the secret in Bisco. He calls his men to bring the Rust Eater mushrooms and Milo reveals that the mushrooms in dormant state and needs to be mixed with other ingredients to awaken. As he demonstrates, white spores come out and Kuriko realizes he is using mushroom control. Spores then obstruct the vision of everyone and Numshroom spores put them to sleep. Mila disarms him and slices him with his knife. Milo then reveals his blade was coated with numbing poison and unless he releases Paul and Jabby he won't Treat him. However, Kurakawa uses a hidden bow in his arm to shoot Milo. Kurako then injects himself with Num's room antidote. Milo attempts to attack him but freezes. Kurokawa reveals he is former mushroom keeper and used puppet room on Milo. While the mushroom spreads its roots throughout someone's body, Kurako can use an implanted chip in his brain to control the person. Kurokawa reveals he has no interest in the effects of the Rust Eater but wishes to monopolize it. Currently the government in Kurako are making money from the medicine that helps with rusting, but with the new medicine he could become even more powerful than the central government. Mila still refuses to reveal the secret. Kurako decides to kill him, but in that moment Bisco arrives and stops Kurako. JB is acting crazy in his cell, wanting his food as the guard gives him and receives a phone call. Jabi uses it along with other ingredients to grow mushrooms and free himself from his cell. Facing Bisco, Kurako reveals that he is the reason the mushroom keepers are being persecuted. He was the one who spread the superstition that the mushroom keepers are spreading rust and then sold out every mushroom keeper to earn money. Bisco is happy to learn this as he almost took revenge without even realizing it. Kurokawa gets angry, but before he could use his bow, Bisco blows up his prosthetic arm. Milo then warns Bisco to dodge it, but before Bisco realizes what is going on, he gets hit by Milo's arrow under Kuroko's control, injecting him with rust. Kurako that makes Milo shoot another arrow. While Milo asks him to stop, Kurako states the next arrow will go in Bisco's head unless Milo reveals the secret of the Rust Eater. Having no choice, Milo reveals it's the mushroom keeper's blood. Kurokawa thanks him but states that he cannot let them go as they will hunt and kill him. Moment before Milo shoots an arrow at Bisco's head, he notices the confidence in Bisco's eyes, and as he shoots, Bisco captures the arrow with his teeth and throws it back at Kurako, injuring his right eye. Jabi then comes and uses an arrow to grow a mushroom and smash Kurako at the roof. Jabi that injects Mula with an antidote and reveals he already saved Puu due to Bisco's injuries. You can't stand, and Jabi tells Milo to take Bisco and escape. While he stays in fights, Jabi starts fighting them, but an injury from earlier distracts him and he ends up caught in a net. Cortical was pawns catch up to Milo and Bisco and shoot multiple rust arrows at Mila's back. Tagaway appears and defeats the pawns. Barely conscious and heavily injured, Milo tells Bisco to not die. Milo wakes up from a nightmare where he couldn't reach his friends. Bisco had bandaged his wounds, but his rusting is spreading as Milo's eyes are bandaged too. Bisco states he managed to steal some Rust Eater from Kurokawa and had mixed a medicine and wants to inject Milo with it, while in reality it's the medicine that Paul gave him. Mila tells Bisco to first take care of himself, but Bisco lies to him that he had already injected himself. When Milo falls asleep, Bisco takes Octagawa and heads towards Kurako. Meanwhile, Paul sees Kurako's special forces in government forces truck heading towards Kurako. A Japanese government forces mate G base. Shabi sees Kurako is boiling down rust and realizes he plans on artificially creating the rust wind. Kurako states there used to be giant weapon that covered Japan and Rus and have rust reactor within its body able to generate unlimited amount of rust. Korikolan then shows he has the Tetsujin, stating there are 5 of them in Japan or 6 by some theories, but this Tetsujin is one of the few still functioning ones. Kurokawa intends to turn concentrated rust into rust bullets and fire them out of a Ganesha cannon, creating rust wind. Korikola prepares to shoot him, but one of his men starts beating Jabi. Kurako then lowers his gun and gives a knife to his man, telling him to cut his fingers so that Jabi won't be able to use a bow again. Instead, the man ends up freeing Jabi and stabs Korakal in the foot. Kurako removes his man's mask, revealing it's Bisco, who then throws Coral Coal 4 below him. Bisco states he will take care of Kurokawa while Jabi must destroy the Ganesha cannon. Kurako orders his men to bring a certain thing no matter it's not ready. Outside, Jabi encounters a gorilla, but Paul comes and defeats it with a single hit. Bisco joins Kurokawa and starts fighting him. Kurako manages to shoot him and injure his eye. A large man then comes with a big gun and mushroom growing from his back. Kurako orders him to kill Bisco. Bisco shoots a Kurako but misses due to his fingers shattering from the rust. Kurako starts mocking him he cannot use a bow anymore, but Bisco closes the distance and punches him, stating he doesn't need a bow to kill him. Kurako starts running scary from Bisco. He shoots him a few times but Bisco still comes after him and punches him, shattering his own arm. Kurokawa reloads, believing he would win now, but Milo arrives and rips Koroko's arm with an arrow. Bisco then bites Korokola by the neck and makes them fall into the boiling rust. Koroko egg is burned and dies as Bisco gets the same fate. Nilo states that he promised him to be together. Bisco tells him even if his body isn't there, his soul won't die and it will come to protect him. Bisco then asked Milo to kill him so that it's not the rust that kills him. Milo then shoots Bisco in the chest and he is absorbed into the boiling rust. Due to short circuit, rust energy is loaded on the Ganesha cannon, which prepares to shoot. Pablo then throws a gorilla at it and knocks it over, preventing it from firing. A short circuit also causes other problems and the reactor is approaching critical levels. Paul enters the facility to look for Bisco but finds only Milo. Jabi asks where Bisco is and Milo reveals he died and is inside of his heart now. As the facility crumbles, the government sends men to help clear the place. Suddenly from all the smoke a giant arm smashes a helicopter and a revived Tetsujin stands up. The Tetsujin then shoots a beam from its mouth and causes a huge explosion over the distant Weeping Child ravine. Tank starts shooting at the Tetsujin, but as it barely had any effect, the Tetsujin's breaths rust over them and destroys it. As the Tetsujin moves away, Milo sees that Akutagawa is covered in rust, but Jabi explains steel crabs don't rust. As Milo is the only one injected with Rust Eater, he decides to go after the Tetsujin. Shabi and Paolo remain to unbury Akutagawa. Government forces try fighting the Tetsujin but their attacks do nothing. The Tetsujin destroys them easily, but voice similar to Kurokawa. The Tetsujin says Bisco's name and continues to head south. Darrell figures that's Imahama direction and tells the Imiyama watch they need to do something or it will destroy Imahama. Mila catches up to the Tetsujin and injects himself, imitating Bisco's voice and calling the Tetsujin Kurikawa. The Tetsujin attacks but Mila dodges and shoots an arrow growing mushrooms on the Tetsujin and making it feel pain. The Tetsujin then breathes rust but Milo is unaffected and shoots more mushrooms at the Tetsujin neck, making him feel even more pain. The traitors decide to join Milo and shoot the Tetsujin, who then turns and prepares to blow them up, but in the last moment Jabi, Paul-Wu and Akutagawa come and save the traitors. The Tetsujin then yells and prepares a large attack, shooting in the sky and hitting Jabi and Milo, causing them to fall from the cliff. Pavu and Tyrell are heading towards the Shimabuki base. Tyrell shows a Tetsujin manual she found at Mayaji base. Milo, Jabi and Akutagawa survive the fall of the cliff. As he finishes bandaging Jabi, some traitors show up. Mila decides to leave Jabi to them and go after the Tetsujin, revealing he is heading towards Imiyama. The Tetsujin then reaches Kafuro. Shelton C and Nuts is in form of a giant monster approaching. Nets challenges the Tetsujin and throws his harpoon at it, however it has no effect except causing the Tetsujin to target him as it's about to kill Nuts. Miller shoots an arrow growing a mushroom that protects Nuts. Paul-Will arrives with escargot fighters piloted by Imahama's watch and they attack the Tetsujin. The Tetsujin continues its way towards Imahama while the group is trying attacking him on the move. The Tetsujin then stops and opens its chest, revealing a large fan, and shoots a beam at the escargot fighters, turning them to rust. It attacks Milo's group but Akutagawa manages to bury them underground and save them. As the Tetsujin continues, Milo takes a red injection, causing Jabi to recognize it as Bishamite mushroom poison, telling him his body won't last long if he takes it. The people are getting evacuated. The approaching Tetsujin is shown on TV and the people witness Milo challenging the Tetsujin and fighting him again. Mila suffers some injuries and barely stands but still continues to fight. He manages to get on the Tetsujin and starts stabbing its back, causing pain to the Tetsujin. As he stabs him, he uncovers Bisco's glasses. The Tetsujin then grabs Milo and throws it at Imiyama's wall. From the stab wound, Bisco comes out, healed him with regrown hand. The Tetsujin attacks, however Bisco dodges and shoots an arrow which goes through the Tetsujin and grows complete Rust Eater on the spots it pierced. The Tetsujin then tries shooting a beam but Bisco shoots another arrow, overpowering the beam and splitting the Tetsujin in half. As the Tetsujin attempts to stand up, the two then head out to fight him. Tyrell then comes and warns them that Sasign is preparing to self-destruct and if they shoot it up it will create a crater just like in the past. Tyro looks at the Tetsujin manual and finds out that the detonation trigger is the pilot's brain. Polly decides to break the helmet of the Tetsujin. Feeling awkward, Bisco tells her if she comes back alive you will give her anything she wants. Paolo then kisses him Stating she will be taking him using Octagawa Jabi launches Paolo high and she manages to land a hit on the Tetsujin helm that causes the armor to split apart and fall off, revealing Kuroko's upper body merged with the Tetsujin. Kuroko then calls Bisco. Bisco then prepares to shoot, however Kuroko throws his arm at him, splashing blood over Bisco's eyes. Milovan grabs Bisco's arm, helping him aim the bow and remind him of the 2 rules he told him: keep your eyes on the target and believe. Mila states he will be his eyes, so Bisco must believe and draw the bow. As he does and releases it, the arrow pierces Kurokawa's head from the arrow. Then Rest Eaters start to grow and on the arrow's path and completely cover the Tetsujin, eating all the rust and leaving only the metal exoskeleton. The morning comes in. Seeing the mountain of Rust Eaters, Paul wonders if they had one. Jabi then sees that she is cured and doesn't have rest disease anymore. AC Bisco Emilo laying on top of the mushrooms. Mila states that he intended to save just 2 people, but with this amount of Rust Eaters they can save the whole Japan. In the following weeks, Milo opens a clinic where he continues cure people from rust. Tyrell gets a truck full of Rust Eaters and heads out to sell them at Gun. The border officer Ino Shake sees the news that Paolo became the new governor of Imahama and declares independence from the Japanese government. Disguised Bisco and Milo attempt to cross it, but they see Bisco's wanted poster now claims even higher reward. There is also a poster for man-eating panda. Inashiji and Uda explain that he is Milo, who may look cute but in reality eats his patients. Inashiji reveals that hardly anyone believes he's a bad guy. He also believes that Bisco isn't a bad guy too, but is a bit flashy in the way he do things. As they pass, Bisco sees that they keep fertilizing the king trumpet mushroom he grew there. Bisco then hands 2 Rust Eater injections to Inashiji, who states they are too expensive and can't take a bribe. Bisco states it's a reward for fertilizing the king trumpet mushroom. As they run, Inertia realizes it's Bisco and calls Uda, who ends up taking a camera and takes a picture of Bisco Emilo. Luna frames the picture of Bisco Emilo and places it at his desk at the Gamma border.